mine to get seen in the Boston Globe, photographed by our guest speaker tonight. It's like when you get to that point, it's like, check that off. Bill Brett took my picture and I'm in the Globe. This is amazing. I think Kevin and Jill were in there last week. Where's Kevin? He only photographs the good-looking women. I know, that's why we're in there, Jill. But anyway, he'll tell you a little bit about himself, but Bill has seen it all and met them all over his decades of service at the Globe as a photographer. And we wanted to welcome him to the stage appropriately because his latest book called Boston Irish he can't keep them in. He's reordering and reordering and reordering. We have cases of them over in the other building for sale, as well as many of the other books that he's written. But we want to welcome Bill appropriately to the stage with a little something that we planned just for you. So, Mr. Soundman. Oh, Kevin.
Yeah, this is my niece, Bridget Duffy.
Mr. Bill Brett, the legend, the man.
Didn't realize I was going to be on stage. First of all, I want to thank each and every one for coming this evening. When they invited me here back 2 months ago, I had no idea what it was like. I'm not usually on this side, I'm usually on that side taking photographs of the individuals, these people. So first of all, I'd like to tell you a little about myself, for those who don't know anything about me. I grew up in Dorchester. I was 18 years old when I got a job at the Boston Globe. My first assignment before I got to the Globe, 1963, when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. I said to my mother at the time, I said, I have to go to Washington to photograph this event. And my mother said to me, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm going to get a credential from the Dorchester Reporter. At that time it was the Dorchester Argus. They gave me a press credential to go to Washington. So I think after I did that, I photographed that assignment. It was, I came back, I was so excited. They gave me 2 full pages, and I said, I'm on my way. And the Globe was kind enough to hire me probably 2 or 3 months after that as a part-time photographer. And by the time I was 20, I had a full-time job. So coming from my neighborhood, getting a full-time job was, I made it. At 21, I had a Corvette. This is it. And since I grew up behind the Globe, on Marcy Boulevard, the Savin Hill section, it was like hitting a lottery as far as I was concerned. So as my career moved along, I had the opportunity to cover a lot of great assignments, a lot of great places I went to, a lot of great people I met. Without my camera, none of this would happen. As I tell my children, I have 4 children, that if you find the vocation or the passion for what you do, you don't go to work every day. During my career, I became chief photographer, became director of photography, and I became an associate editor of the Globe. And I was very fortunate, all these nice jobs that I had, but I wanted to take photographs. That was my passion. And I started a column called Party Lines over 30 years ago. And Party Lines, what it involves is that the advertising department loved me because I went out to photograph mostly women and what they were wearing. And men wore black suits all the time, so there was really nothing spectacular about them. But the advertising department loved, they'd always say to me, Bill, I love that party, I love what those women are wearing. So I continued that because I had 4 children in college at one time. So it was a weekend gig for me, and I made it into a cottage industry. So as time went on, I retired from the Globe officially in 2001. They had a buyout office. It was one of the first they had around town. And I had 38 years, and I said, well, there's other things I wanted to do, but the Globe was kind enough to continue my voyage. So I signed a contract every year. I covered about 200 parties. It takes me from Boston to the North Shore. I was here a couple of weeks ago, and so Swampscott. Don't get up this way too often. Most of it is all in the city. In the summer, I spend time on the Cape, in Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and then I get out to Tanglewood. So I go where the people go because the city there's not a lot of people in the city during the summer. So every day, for me, it's a journey that I get to meet some wonderful people. I meet the first wife, the second wife, I know the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend, and you get into these things. And if I could just tell you a few interesting stories that I have, that on this one of my books, actually maybe I can just, this is the best way to describe it. This was actually the cover of the first book I did. This was 160 photographs, black and white, of men and women of Boston who contribute to the city in a lot of different ways. Some of these are rich, some are poor, they're just average people. And this particular cover is a photograph of 3 mayors. These 3 men have 46 years of being mayor of Boston. And I talked with each of them to set this photograph up. This is actually my first book, it's 10 years now. And when I took this photograph, I asked each one of them to come and meet me at across from the Four Seasons Hotel. And that morning, I had an idea. I wanted 3 men sitting on a park bench, chatting. And when I got up that morning, it was pouring rain. So I stopped at Walgreens and Galvin Boulevard in Dorchester, and I bought 3 black umbrellas. And I get down to the area, and Tom Menino was the first to arrive, and he said, why would you take a picture on a day like today? And I said, Tom, because it's a great day to take a photograph. It's just moody. So I gave him an umbrella. He was thrilled. The late Kevin White, I gave him one. He was just the dementia was starting to get in. He didn't have too much idea what I was doing. But his wife was there, Catherine, and I gave him the umbrella, and he was thrilled. Ray Flynn was the last to arrive, so I don't know if anybody has the history. When the Pope came in 1979, that heavy rain, it started to rain pretty good while the Pope was having Mass in Boston Common. And Ray Flynn walked up to him, and he held the umbrella for about 15 minutes. And he took a lot of heat for that. Some thought it should have been a priest holding it. But Ray, an instinct where he was, the priest, the rain was coming down. So Ray said to me, when I asked him to hold the umbrella, he didn't want to touch the umbrella. So I knew the story, and I said, Ray, I know how you feel about umbrellas, but it's going to make a great picture. And it really did. It's actually one of my iconic photographs. This picture here was auctioned off 3 weeks ago at $16,000 for an auction. And it was signed by the 3 of them. And I had 50 of them that I had signed by them. And I've given quite a few away for charities, to raise the money. And this picture here is the 6 living governors at the time. Paul Salucci has passed away. And I contacted each one of them. Deval Patrick was just elected. He wasn't sworn in yet. It was in November, end of November. And Governor Romney was campaigning for president for the first time. And I contacted each person. I told them what I had in mind. They said, okay. I said, I'll meet you at 9 Park Street at 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And the reason why I put them at the restaurant 9 Park Street, I didn't want them to go around because I didn't want people to see what I was doing, because I didn't want anyone to get a picture of it. So Mitt Romney's person, secretary of assistant, called me at 3 o'clock on a Thursday and said Mitt Romney would not be able to make the photo shoot because he's still in South Carolina. And I said, well, geez, this is going to be, this isn't going to look right. Here he is running for president of the United States. This book is going to come out, in the spring. And she said, I said, people are going to ask me. And I said to her, and she said, I'm going to have to say that he was never here. And I thought she was going to come through the phone. She said, well, you can't say that. I said, well, it's my book. So at 7 o'clock that night, I got a call from a friend of mine who interceded, and he said the governor will come. So the next day, I got them all lined up. They're all going into 9 Park Street. Barbara Lynch, they were committed to the restaurant. It's a nice restaurant. She had a little setup for them. And Governor Dukakis said to me, Bill, I did you a favor, now you have to do me one. I said, what is that, Governor? Don't put me beside Mitt Romney. During that time, during the first election, Mitt was banging Dukakis around a little, being very liberal as he was. So I said, great. So I had them all lined up. I called this Governor Romney's secretary. She said the governor's here. He'll be down in 3 minutes. So he comes running down the hill, down the steps by the side of the State House, and he said, Bill, I got your message. Oop, geez. And I said, well, I said I didn't mean it, in a bad way. I just didn't want to. I want to include you into this photograph because it is a piece of history, but they're all photographed together. And he said, now I'm going to ask you something. So I said, anything, Governor, don't put me beside Dukakis. So each one of them felt the same way. So I already had the picture all lined up because Dukakis is the smallest, and I wanted to put him in the middle. And Mitt Romney was actually one of the tallest with Governor Bill Weld on the right. So as Bill Weld said to me, I know where I'm going to end up, Bill. You're always on the right. You're never in the middle because you're so tall. So that made a nice photograph because it was, I got them all together. I mean, it was Ed King, actually, I reached out to him earlier, and he passed away in March of that year. And it would have been great if I was able to get Ed King in the photograph. So I know these pictures are important because it's a time of history. Vicki Kennedy, I call her Vicki Kennedy, and I said to Vicki, I said that her brother is a photographer. So she thinks photographers are a little different. So she knows that we're all, artists in our own way. So I called her up and I said to her, Vicki, I said, I'd like to include you into this book. And she said, fine. So we set up a date, and the date was, it was in October. I told her I'd meet her at the Four Seasons Hotel. Four Seasons Hotel is one of my, because it's where it's centrally located. I get to know all the general managers of the hotel because I'm in them a lot. So I wanted to make Vicki across the street in the Common, the public garden. I thought it would be a nice scene, but that night it was about 87 degrees, and across the public garden had a lot of people, and I didn't think it was proper to parade her around there. So I'm back to the hotel. Bill Taylor was the general manager, and I said, Bill, do you have a room I could use for now, a window room? Because most of the photographs that I take, I like natural light. My daughter did all studio work. So he said, sure. So if anyone's familiar with the hotel, the back rooms, there's no light at all. The front, it gets in just like daylight. So she arrived, and I said to her what I had in mind, and she said, oh, that's great. I didn't want to go across the street. So I said, well, I have a room on the 6th floor for an hour. And she said to me, she said, they rent rooms by the hour. I said, Vicki, for me, I'm quick. I don't need much more. So I thought she could have fallen to the locker very quick. So we go up to the 6th floor, and it was a beautiful room. And we're moving furniture, her and I are moving furniture, because I want to get it by the window. So when she was leaning against the love seat, we call it love seat, she was leaning like this because she was actually too tall to lean against it. So I looked down and I said, Vicki, do you mind taking those high heels off? Because it'll bring it down about 2 inches. She flips them off. She said, that's it. That's all I'm taking. So I said to her, I said, that's all I need. But I made, this is the photo. This is the photograph of her leaning against it. And then she's so comfortable leaning against that chair. So the 2 inches made a difference because the 2 inches she would be balanced right on the chair. And it just made a great, great photograph. When I think of, photography and how you get into photographs and pictures, Britney Spears, who comes to my mind because a friend of mine opened a hotel called the Onyx in Boston. And he called me and he said, Bill, you can't tell anybody, but he said, I'm having Britney Spears come in 2 days and she's going to be with you for a photo shoot. So I said, okay, I have 3 girls, I figure the kids might want to know. But anyhow, I get to the hotel, it was snowing out, very little snow on the ground, and they told me, when I go into the concierge, he gave me a card, an envelope. I open it, it's the room, the 5th floor. And I go up there and I'm waiting an hour, so 2 o'clock the person will be here. 3 o'clock comes, there's nobody there. There's no one on the 5th floor. I mean, I felt like something was going to happen. So all of a sudden, somebody bangs on the door, and this big black man, he filled the frame with rosy gray. He's just so big. He says, are you Bill? I said, yes. He said, Brittany, he's here. So Brittany came in, she had a New York Yankee hat on, she had a big parker on, so she just takes the parker off, fix her hair a little. She was very, very nice. The room was so small, it had a bed, a TV, and a little table. It was the smallest room that I've ever been in. I don't know who was going to pay in this room. So she said to me, what did you have in mind? Well, I said, I got to get you in bed to show that you're in this room. And she says to me, well, we just met. And my face was so red. And I said to her, well, I'm trying to show that you're in a bedroom in a room, a
hotel. She was terrific to work with. It was unbelievable. We had all laughs. And then after it was very hard to take different pictures because there was nowhere to go. So after we completed the thing, she said, would you like a picture? I said, sure. So she says, George, I thought I was going to come through the door. She said, would you take a picture of Bill and I in the bed? So her and I was, I got my arm around her on the bed, and it was terrific. A week later, her mother came, we did the same thing. Her mother looked about 16. She was 41 years old. She was married at 17. So I said to my daughter, my wife was cooking dinner that particular night, and I'm in the room, and she said, my office is off the kitchen. She said, so what was your day like? I said, you wouldn't believe it. I said, if I told you, you wouldn't believe it. So one of my daughters was there, so I tell her, I said, you know, it's Britney Spears. I was able to get her in bed at the Onyx Hotel. My wife says, what is your father talking about? So she comes in, I look on the screen, I said, there she is. I mean, it was just, some of these events every day is just great. I'll be over there, and I can answer any questions for anybody that has, and I thank you all for coming.